Hello, hello. It's Business Partner, Unit 4, Business Strategy. This lesson 4.3 is communication skills, about solving problems. Imagine you have a problem and you have to talk to the person that is working with you about that problem. How are you going to address the problem? How would you like the other person would address the problem to you? And this is what this lesson is about. Learners are aware of different ways to deal with problems and can use a range of phrases for offering and asking for help. Well. We have it here. Communication styles, direct and indirect styles. What do you prefer? What is direct style of communication? What is an indirect style of communication? Do you like to talk about a problem directly, stating the problem, asking the person or telling the person how the person is not doing what the person should do and what you expect from the person? Or do you go more indirectly, like praising the person for the efforts, agreeing that things are hard, and then showing the topic in an indirect way? Maybe the person realizes what you're talking about, what you want. How do you prefer? If you are the boss, what do you prefer? If you are the subject, how do you prefer to address to the boss? Or how do you prefer the boss to address to you the problem? Well, this is what we are going to talk to today about. And I loved the lesson because it's very practical. We deal with this in our families, at work, at school, everywhere. And the first one is the definition of both styles. It's common to classify communication styles as direct or indirect. A person's communication style may depend on their culture. In pairs, read the text and discuss the questions. In direct cultures, people often focus on facts and give clear opinions. They want to communicate with honesty and will argue strongly for their ideas and against the ideas of others. I have a friend who's from Brazil and he lives in Germany. He says that people get really red. They get red faces, defending their positions strongly. This would be understood as offensive in Brazil, like defending their positions strongly. And they don't measure their words very much on attacking the other position, the position of the other person. But after that discussion, things continue as before. They are normal, treating well each other. In Brazil, probably the other person would feel hurt against the other one because of the offensive words, the direct messages and language. And I don't know, how would a German view a Brazilian? We are talking about stereotypes here, yes. German people are polite, really polite in treatment. We are talking about different ideas, different positions when they are working together, when they are close to each other, right? And in indirect cultures, the focus is more on feelings. People do not like to argue against other people's ideas and may say they agree to show respect for the other person. They also try to avoid making things difficult for others. It looks beautiful, right? But are there disadvantages? What culture would you say that the stereotype is like this kind of indirect treatment and exposition of differences? Think of one potential advantage and disadvantage of communicating directly, and one potential advantage and disadvantage of communication indirectly. I don't know, should I say now what I have to talk about this? An advantage of direct style. People trust you because you are so frank about what you think that they really believe you think like that. And a possible disadvantage, people may think that you are rude. Do you like to be seen as a rude person, or don't you care to be seen as rude? Go for direct style. Maybe you won't get many friends in Brazil. And indirect style. An advantage is that people think that you are polite. You think about their feelings and etc. and so on. But there's may be a disadvantage. People don't believe you are saying what you really think. Maybe the message is not delivered. Are there other advantages or disadvantages of each style? What do you think? And well, how would you classify the communication style of your own national culture? Do you like this style and why? Are there both styles in Brazil? Are there? What is your style? How do you prefer talking to others? How do you prefer others talking to you? And maybe we are a bit different from the average of people from our country. What do you have to tell me about that? We have then the video, because this is lesson point 3, communication skills. We have 4 videos for this lesson as usual. You have access to the videos, and the first video is when we state the problem. What is it about? Look, watch as Matt prepares for a progress meeting with Kenji about the Japan side of the project. Do you remember? We've seen in the other in the other units that there's a project to be released in Mexico. There are people from the United Kingdom, United States, Germany, and now we have Japan here in the person of Kenji. They are releasing the same project. In general, how happy is Matt with the progress of the Japanese side of the project and why? There's a problem here. The lesson is about dealing with problems. Note down the challenges Kenji has in managing the Japanese side of the project. And what advice does Matt get from Jack, his colleague, on how to handle Kenji? Well, he has a problem, so he goes to Jack, his colleague, to ask for advice on how to deal with Kenji to have the situation solved. Why is Matt unsure about following this advice from Jack? So we have to notice this from the first video. Watch that and try to find the answers. Do you agree that project leaders need to push people hard to make projects work? Does it happen in your company, in your school, in your family? Push people hard. Hey, we are late. Go for it. Have you done this? And after that, as usual, we have 2 options of videos on how the person tries to solve the problem, tries to deal with the situation that we are tackling. Discuss which is the best communication style, option A or B, for Matt to manage his meeting with Kenji. Give reasons for your answers, and as a class, decide which video to watch first. In option A, Matt takes Jack's advice to communicate directly with Kenji and confront him about the problems with his side of the project. He demands that Kenji delivers on time and imposes a way forward. Wow, that's very direct, and I hope you like the video, because you will recognize some bosses, some managers, some parents, some relatives or teachers that have used this style towards you. And in option B, Matt follows his instincts. You know already Matt if you've seen the other unit videos. And he's supportive and communicates indirectly with Kenji. He asks questions to clarify the reasons for project delay and involves Kenji in deciding a way to get his side of the project back on track. So we have seen now, before watching the videos, that the problem is project delay. How is Kenji going to be on time again? And we have a direct way and indirect way. Why don't you watch both videos before our live lesson, and then we can talk about these two different styles. But which one do you like more? This is my question to you. Watch the videos in the sequence that the class has decided and answer the same questions for each video. We have 4 questions for both videos. How many weeks has the project now been delayed, according to Matt? How does Kenji respond to Matt when he raises the problem? In a direct way, in video A, option A, and in an indirect way in option B. What is Matt's reaction to this explanation? Is Kenji more defensive in option A than in option B? Do bosses like defensive answers? What is the solution which is agreed? Who suggests that? Is it Matt? Is it Kenji? In option A, option B, aren't these questions, do these questions have the same answer in both videos? Overall, how successful is Matt's communication style and why? I liked very much because I could recognize some people here. And in pairs, discuss the questions and agree what you can learn from Matt's experience. What did Matt do to communicate in a direct way and in an indirect way with Kenji? What happened as a result in both situations? And which style, direct or indirect, is the more effective way to communicate in such situations, and why? The point is, he's talking to a Japanese person with a peculiar kind of culture. And Kenji isn't wrong at all to be the way he is. Do you feel like Kenji? Do you have the same style as Kenji? Do you have the same style as Jack? And how would you feel if Matt had option A or option B, used option A or B in communicating to you if you were in the place of Kenji? Watch the conclusion section of the video. As you know, the last video is from an expert in communication, and he talks a lot about how we can learn from these videos, from option A and B, Jack's advice and everything. And let's compare what is said with your answers in exercise 4. And note down three main learning points. What can we learn from this issue? Communicating directly or indirectly. How far do you agree with these points and why? Because it isn't a Brazilian person talking, it isn't a Japanese person talking, or a German one. So 3 different countries, 4 here, because the person isn't from these 3 countries I mentioned. So it's possibly a 4th different culture discussing this topic. Is there anything that you agree more? And 4 and 6, there's a reflection for us. Think about the following questions and discuss your answers with a partner. We have these 2 questions. Which communication style is direct or indirect? Do you prefer to use? Which one and why? And what are one advantage and one possible disadvantage of your own personal style? Have you had any problems with that? Because we have already had many problems to solve with other people. Was the other person direct or indirect in treating you or you to the other person? There are many different situations at school, at family, and at work. How did you solve the situation, or how was the situation dealt with? Get prepared to talk a lot about this topic because it's really interesting. And see you in the live lesson. Bye bye.